We're about news, commentary, conversations, truth, liberty, and God. We stand for American values and our flag. We believe that the Constitution is a document that fortifies rights already given to us by our Creator. We will not apologize for our love of God and country, ever. We are Right America Media.
Welcome back to this week's episode of Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. We are going to have another fire conversation for you today. We have great guests. You know, the second segment we're going to have on Christian Briggs. He's an economist and statistician. We're going to be getting into big tech and our freedom, which is at risk because Washington lies to us. Go figure. You know, politicians continue to lie. And on the third segment, our final segment for the day, we're going to have Glenn Baker. He's an Army veteran, entrepreneur, and musician, documentary filmmaker. He's going to be coming on to talk about his work, and we're going to get into some more stuff. I love talking to other veterans. You know, I love talking to veterans. Okay, we're veterans here. This is veterans, owned and produced here at Right America Media. If you are not a part of the Ram TV Live family, you need to become a part of the Ram TV Live family. So get up off your ass, like, share, retweet, subscribe, send to all of your friends, tell them to do the same. And if you don't like us and you want to lambaste us, go ahead and email us or call in at 833-603-8255. That's 833-603-TALK. Go ahead and call in and tell us how much you hate us. How, we can have respectful dialogue. We need to get back to that. The agree to disagree point. We don't have to hate each other, wish for each other's demise just because we disagree with each other. And of course, as usual, in studio with me is Andy from Citizens Doge. Do we got a Doge report, Andy?
Not this week. I just want to give a quick update that we are presently working on addressing a couple of matters that are happening around the state by Text Campaign.
Okay.
Which has been the tool that Mike and I have been granted the ability to use through a partner of ours named Alvin Wong, who's a brilliant young guy who runs a digital marketing and campaign support platform called Red Tide Strategies. He's somebody I got to know during Lily's campaign last year, and he's built a platform for us that we're now using to help a couple of volunteers handle some matters in their own local communities. One concerning the Claremont School Board matter, which I know has made a lot of news here in New Hampshire as well as around the Northeast, and the other actually is a proposal concerning a courthouse that could be built in Grafton County for upwards of about $72 to $78 million. If the proposal is passed, we're working with somebody who's trying to mobilize some people together up in Grafton County to defeat that. So
$78 million.
$78 million.
What comes with that courthouse that's worth $78 million?
Well, the building, anytime a building like that is up for a proposal like that, certainly it's seen better days. The general consensus from the people I've talked to, and of course, you always want to get more than one opinion on these kind of things, is just that the building could use a few refurbishments, and maybe like the restrooms could be completely overdone, and maybe the plumbing in the building is completely outdated, things like that. But basically, the consensus among the people I've talked to is that it's completely unnecessary, and it's going to raise property taxes across Grafton County for decades to come, just on the whims of a few people who have, from what I understand, indicated that they want to try to ram this through without a lot of Grafton resident taxpayer input.
I'm just going to throw this out there. This sounds like a gift to somebody's buddies. That's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like somebody's got contractor buddies that they want to help out by giving them a massive contract. To me, I don't see this as limited government. I don't see this as the role of government. If you can renovate a building that you already own and possess for $1.5 million, maybe $2 million, why do you need to raise property taxes for decades on end when we find elderly people are not able to afford to live in the communities in which they bought their houses 30 years ago now?
100%.
And then on top of that, energy prices in New England, we're about to be going into the winter, so those are going to be hitting people too. The last thing we need is be adding property taxes, because that's been a major issue in New Hampshire recently. And this is exactly what we're trying to stem off is you see this at the local level, and I'm glad you brought this up and you brought this to our attention. You see this at the local level, this hyper focus on building new things when you could renovate the things that already exist. Or, we need to close down this fire station because we don't use that fire station. Okay, then let's do that. Well, we don't want to do that. What are you going to do with the firefighters? If you don't use it, move the firefighters to the other station. If you don't need the firefighters, then I'm sorry, you're going to have to lay them off. The federal government or the state government or the local government is not a jobs program just to keep people employed to do nothing. I'm sorry. It is what it is. If I don't need, why would I keep a plumber, an electrician, and a handyman on retainer to work on my house when I don't have work that needs to be done on my house? I'm going to pay them each month in case shit happens. Chris Rock had a great comedy skit. What was it? It was the movie Down to Earth, where he comes back as a white billionaire after dying because death got it wrong. The angel of death got it wrong. And he has this whole thing about insurance being, it should really be called in case shit happens. So if shit don't happen, don't I deserve to get my money back?
It sounds like a good bit. I haven't seen it, but I can absolutely picture it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, George Carlin, the guys who are constantly, even Bill Burr, like he has his wishy-washy moments where he gets a little woke here and there, but the guys who are willing to say the shit that's unpopular that no one else is willing to say, those are my favorite comedians. The guys that get overly political to where it ruins their stand-up and their ability to connect with people, it reminds me of an upcoming book that I am about to be dropping soon called Woke Washing Hollywood. It's called Blockbuster Homicide, How Wokewashing Killed Hollywood.
That sounds great.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be about how the entire entertainment industry has basically gone down the tubes because we keep trying to shove politics down people's throats when the vast majority of people would just sign on to most of the products and most of the things you're pushing if you just make the movies good and inspiring. You know what I mean? And that goes back to our previous conversation about when they did Snow White. Mm-hmm. Snow White is like, oh, we're going to have this Rachel Zellweger is going to go around the world talking about freeing Palestine and pissing people off and talking about how she wants to trash the patriarchy and get rid of in a 90-year-old story by redoing it and making the woman the independent Snow White an independent woman, boss chick and stuff. And I'm like, are we insane right now? Society had no problem with female superheroes, action stars, or anything else as long as the movies were good. As a matter of fact, not only did society not have a problem with them, men were the people who made Angelina Jolie famous as Laura Croft, made Kate Beckinsale famous as Selena, and made Mia Jovovich famous as Alice in Resident Evil. We made them famous as female. Sigourney Weaver in Aliens.
Linda Carter famous as Wonder Woman.
Yes. Like, every dude had a crush on Linda Carter as Wonder Woman. Yeah. Hell, Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman. Hot as hell.
The first woman I ever had a crush on as a kid watching a movie was Nicole Kidman in Batman Forever. This is long before recent controversies, but
she's like 6 feet tall. She's really tall.
Nicole Kidman in Batman Forever with Val Kilmer was fire.
Dude, I loved her in that, and I loved her in Days of Thunder.
Yeah,
is the sexy doctor. I was like, ooh. Oh man! But isn't it amazing that like we didn't have problems with all this shit before we started getting lectured on how we have a problem with all this stuff? It's like going in to see a therapist, and you're sitting down on the couch, and you're like, this is what's going on in my life. Well, how do you feel about that? I just told you how I feel about that. No, how do you feel about that? Why are you so angry? I'm not angry. Why are you so angry? I'm not angry. Why are you so angry? Now I'm getting pretty fucking angry right now. I'm getting really angry right now because you keep telling me I'm angry, and I was doing just fine. You see the smile on my face?
Yeah.
This is real smile.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's any way, if you really love, especially if you love the era of movies that we grew up with, I don't think there's any way that the movies of the last 15, 20, maybe even 25 years wouldn't just get under your skin a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the movies when we were 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 were awesome.
I wish we had
And it
that
just
clip
went
of
way
Ricky
downhill.
Gervais explaining how movies in Hollywood have become more about who is how you decide who wins an award these days is who's the most ripped junkie. You know what I mean? And they're not real movies anymore. They're theme parks. Yeah. You go to the movies, you got the surround sound, you got the 3D glasses, you got the seat that moves and wobbles and vibrates, and you got IMAX everything and stuff. And the only thing you don't have is a girl who comes over mid-movie to give you... I'm like, but it went from the movies being this wondrous place where we go into a different reality and we get in touch with our emotions and we experience things and you see things that otherwise you would never be able to see, and you get to relive moments of history, or you get to be that race car driver, or you get to be the action hero, to now it's just explosion, CGI, explosion, abs, naked chick.
I'm going to insist, by the way, that I'm fascinated for this book to come out, and I should add that I received my copy just today of United We Stand, A Marine's Fight. Finally, I'm going to get my copy signed by.
Hey, go ahead, get it on
Here.
Amazon.
I recommend everybody
It
pick
is
up
available.
that Amazon and wherever books are sold. I also want to recommend, and I'll personally remind you again later, that there's a good friend of mine that I've actually met through my own podcast named Sasha Stone, who is like the person to talk to about how Hollywood went down this terrible path. You guys would have a great conversation. I would pay to listen to that.
So many people who've worked in Hollywood over the years. Like I did executive and celebrity protection and stuff. I know so many people who worked in Hollywood as actors, producers, stuff like that over the years that have all said how crappy it's gotten, how they've been kicked out of Hollywood. I met Jim Caviezel, met quite a few people over the years, whether it's at political functions or big donor events, so on and so forth. And the thing that they all say is, if you're a conservative in Hollywood, you have two choices. You keep your mouth shut or you find a new job. Because that's pretty much it. And the worst part is you're forced into this artificial activism. He's like, and I've experienced this, most of these people sound pretty freaking conservative when they talk to their accountants. They sound really conservative when it comes time to pay taxes. They sound really, especially in the music industry, with so many people in the music industry starting out in church. Like, especially R&B, soul singers, pop singers. It's like, oh, yeah, I started out in church, started singing in church choir, blah, blah, blah. Then I became Beyonce, and then what? Then it's all sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right?
Yep.
Or sex, drugs, and trap music now, and twerking on top cop cars and shit. But it's amazing how we used to have this amazing product that around the world, and we still do to a large degree. There are still some movies that come out and TV shows that come out of Hollywood that are pretty good. But there was this silver screen, this ivory tower, this beauty, this emerald city on a hill that we had in Hollywood that we've gotten rid of it. Popular culture has degraded to now what's popular is degradation. And it's sad, but I wish Hollywood would start to figure out Maverick did well because it touched the souls of people. It did all those things that those old movies we grew up with did. When you watch Rocky, I swear, like Eddie Murphy said in Raw, every Italian dude walking out of the theater thought he was Rocky. He was ready to fight every black dude on the street. Get over here. And I'm like, when we get back to that, like, you remember when you were a kid, at the end of an 80s music montage, you could be the world champion in any sport. Yeah. Didn't matter what it was. Techno, rock music back in the day. pumping iron at the gym, ready to go.
Thank you, Survivor and Eye of the Tiger.
Yes.
We're not that old, by the way. We just grew up in the shadow of this popular culture of which we're.
Yeah, I'm an 80s baby. I'm an 80s baby, 90s raised, 2000 disgruntled, and now I'm in the 2020s, and I'm wishing we could go back in time for a minute.
2000 disgruntled. You got to copyright that. That's fantastic.
Right? All right, so that's it for the first segment. We had a little bit of fun, but we're going to be getting into some serious topics because there's things that are being hidden from you in DC, and we can't allow this to continue to happen. So we're going to give you the information that nobody else is giving to you right up after this break. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We got some information for you, okay?
New Hampshire Republican Governor Kelly Ayotte has been making a lot of noise about how she's funding education. The Republican budget she just signed provides more money for education than ever before. She even bragged the other day that New Hampshire is top 10 in the country when it comes to funding our children's education, as if giving money to school systems has anything to do with learning. If you look at the math, and if you got schooled in New Hampshire, the odds are good it's not your best subject. It's the exact opposite. The more money we throw at schools, the less kids learn. We're committed to wasting money on an experiment that failed, unless wasting money to drive parents to homeschool their kids was the goal. We prefer to pick on Democrats, lower hanging fruit and all that, but our rhetorical woodshed doesn't discriminate. If that sounds refreshing, you need to check us out. This is Steve McDonald for Granite Rock, and we'll keep shining the light on them for you.
Unleashing your humble alpha is the key factor to unlocking profound leadership, unshakable confidence, clarity of purpose, and the quality of life you dream of. As combat veterans and military leaders Stephen Kuhn and Lane Balone decode how you can master your life, conquer everything that stands in your way, improve your ability to cope with stress, and run toward greatness. You can find Unleash Your Humble Alpha on Amazon.
This could be the moment we've been waiting for, the chance to feel alive.
Sometimes we forget we live in one of the most beautiful states in the country. This summer, vacation right here and discover your new.
This is where it all begins. This is where it all begins.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know.
Yeah, look at that. It's so sad.
Yeah, that's some good bump music. See, that matches the energy right there. You feel that? Feel that in the air. That's good music. Don't you love when we get some good jams? And good music these days is so rare and hard to come by. We don't allow music to breathe anymore, which I'll reference that later. It's one of my favorite movies is Eddie and the Cruisers 2. Ooh, such a good movie with John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. But speaking of good music, speaking of good tunes and allowing things to breathe, I think we need a holding period, people. I think we need a holding period where we step back and we really think about what we're doing when it comes to big tech and allowing them to have access to all of our data, have access to attaching meme coins and stable coins and stuff to the U.S. treasuries. You know, I think we're speeding down this path towards a cliff and no one's really paying attention. We're just trying to out-innovate everybody else. And innovation without safeguards is a bad thing. You know, if you get running too fast and you start leaning too far forward as a sprinter, you fall on your face. If you're running and you're looking behind you, you also fall on your face. there needs to be a little bit of balance there, right? Because your technique running is about everything. So with our next guest, we're going to get into this. Big tech and freedom at risk. Washington has sold Americans a lie, exposing the Genius Act. Our new guest here hasn't been on the show yet, but we're going to have a fantastic time. Christian Briggs, he's an economist and statistician, and he's going to talk about how laws pitched as innovation threaten privacy, free speech, and the Constitution itself. Thank you for coming on the show today, sir.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a big topic. It's certainly moving at light speed too.
So what is it that the average person is missing? Because, the average person sees, oh, wow, more technology, more AI, more fun things I can do, more widgets on my phone, things I can scroll through. It looks like AI is going to outpace everything. Where none of us are going to be working. We're going to own nothing and be happy. What is the average person getting wrong about this?
Well, no, you were right. You're going to have nothing and be happy. So the average person's getting it. So what they've done is they've digitized the whole world. Everybody that realizes that you're starting to kind of come into the world in a different way. So as and I don't know how old you are, but for me, I was born I'm in my 50s. So the technology has taken a long time to get here. But in the last, say, 18 to 24 months, it's going at light speed. We've gone from the adaptation of checks and cash to 77% of transactions will be digital this year. So what people are missing is who's running those platforms, who's in control, watching and monitoring the token that goes from A to B. And in between that, is there anybody that can stop it? Remember the truckers a number of years ago in Canada when their bank accounts were frozen?
Yep.
Okay, those were digital wallets. Those were first generation truly digital wallets that Canada had implemented in banking systems. So ultimately they were centralized, where right now we have self-custody on a decentralized system, which means we do have some anonymity and autonomous driven monetary policy. What we're going now is to centralize digital ledgers or DHLs. And when we centralize that, we're centralizing the power to give to a few. Mm-hmm. So what the Genius Act did in theory was it takes us from cash to a digital society. But there is no way a government can run on a decentralized system and monitor the transactions in real time. You can't. Otherwise, Bitcoin wouldn't be where it's at. It's a decentralized ledger. It's a decentralized blockchain. The Genius Act centralizes the stable coins that will become the new way of which you would transact. You will not have cash in society just based on the rate of digital transformation from all different demographics. It doesn't matter whether you're 18 or 118. We're seeing the transformation go from cash and checks to full digital by 28. We will simply just use our wallets built into the phones. And the scary part is that Genius Act does, it removes self-custody of your asset. Mm-hmm. Okay? So it's third party. And if you look at it really deep, we no longer have the Federal Reserve, which issues you paper dollars. In 3 years, they'll be obsolete. They know that their days are now numbered. And so what we're moving forward toward is a fully digital way of transacting. But guess who's going to be the new Federal Reserve under the Genius Act? Corporations, because that's who will be issuing the stablecoin. That's why Circle, Coinbase, Gemini, Binance, BlackRock, and all of these have surged in recent weeks in value because they're going to be issuing stable coins. So we're going to basically go from paper to digital, from the Federal Reserve to corporations. Now, inside the Genius Act, the corporations have the authority without due process to freeze the accounts if they feel that the accounts are working within a context of nefarious or bad actors. That's in there. That's it. That's their right to regulate those accounts. So who's to say that someone that doesn't like you works at a Coinbase or a Circle, or it could be any corporation that has the right of which to issue stablecoins and hold the money? That's called third-party custody. If you look up Congressman Warren Davidson and the objection why he voted, many Republicans have voted against it, both in the House and the Senate. There was a ton because they said this is a CBDC in its real form, because you can't run a government and have a decentralized monetary policy because it goes against the entire understanding. That's why they call it a central bank, because it runs on a centralized ledger. So by default, centralized.
This scares the shit out of me. So I've been talking about getting, trying to move away from the Federal Reserve for a long time. I'm 38 years old, so I have watched technology go from brick phones that were absolutely massive and huge computers, desktops, to now I have a supercomputer in the palm of my hand that can do pretty much everything except give me a back massage. Now, at the same time, I just bought a 1971 Cutlass Supreme, and I found it damn near, old school car guys, we like to transact in cash. Mm-hmm. Cash is king. When you come to kick the tires, you want to take it for a test drive, show me you got the money first. Mm-hmm. I found it damn near impossible to access my own funds in my own account or to pull out cash. Everyone has bars on how much cash you can pull out, where you can pull it out. And stuff like that. So the only thing that you could do is transact digitally, but there's caps on how much you can transact digitally in 24 hours. And the banks and all these different platforms refuse to remove their caps, even for special circumstances. What I found is it is damn near impossible. If they don't want you to spend your money, they have more custodial authority over your money than you do.
Yeah, they do now.
I'm scared that the federal government is going to have the exact same power. And you're telling me corporations, we already watch how this was weaponized against conservatives over the past 5 to 10 years with PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, and all the different platforms kicking people off their platforms and freezing their accounts.
Yeah. So Bitcoin was instituted under Obama, 2009. The platform itself, I had a software company where we were early stage blockchain technology and mid stage. We have hundreds of patents in this arena. So we were able to get patents all over the world for what is now today. We call it 4th generation blockchain. Most people call it 1st generation, but it really isn't. When you did a transaction back 20 years ago, when we were starting to do what they call tokenization through a company called Authorize.net, whether it was in browser or app, that's the authentication system that was generation 1. My software company actually helped build and what is today Apple Pay. Now it's evolved much further than when we originally started, but it was really to make sure that the individual that was trying to buy the product, that the token that was generated would be encrypted so that hackers could not get in, because browser wasn't as nearly as secure as an app. So fast forward, here we are today. And if you think that the government is running the show now, you're right, it's now corporations. But here's the sad part. When government was running the monetary policy or the oversight over banks called the Office of Currency and Cash, there was always the 14th Amendment called the Due Process Amendment. That's the one where they couldn't just turn your money off. If they did, they had to have a very good reason, and you can obviously take them to court because there was rights on your side. What's happening now is the corporations, there is no authority. If the Federal Reserve is removed, who is the authority over the corporations who have the banking license to issue the stable coins? I don't know if you were privileged to my 54-page report that I sent to members of Congress, which outlined both, but I did a pre one and I did an aftermath report, an analysis on the Genius Act, where it clearly showed the measure of authority that are going to corporations is even more authority in a way where it rips and removes due process for anybody who systematically has their accounts frozen. So now we're into an age where people consider convenience and efficiency and even safety for some matters a better way of life. But remember, government will offer you something that sounds good. They'll offer you something that feels good. They'll even offer you something that by any measure of logic, it sounds like a better plan than what you're currently doing. But it never gives you the kind of freedom and rights. It's usually a costly endeavor. Freedom and free are very expensive. Okay. We know about free healthcare when Obama was pitching it. So think about Bitcoin for a second. I'm going to give you something where your head's really going to hurt. And so I launched my software company. We had a lot of people, and we were global. We were in China, Russia, South America, North America. And what we were doing was transactions within a browser and of course, and later applications. And what we noticed was that Bitcoin, as it started to ramp up, because I can remember Bitcoin was $14. Some of our devs were doing it. And I said to them, who did this? Who started this whole platform? Their comeback was, well, they said, well, we think it's this guy and these two brothers and this and that. I said, but wait a second, this is a multi-billion-dollar platform because it unifies all of these different parts around the world in these different server farms and data centers. I said, there's no way some guy working on an apartment in Newport Beach could have built this, because we spent hundreds of millions building our system, and it was 1% of what, well, it turns out it was the NSA, CIA, Mossad, and MI6 who built the system as in order to condition and to program us to go from a cash society to a digital society. And we ate it up. In software, there's two words that give you success. It's called consumption and adoption. When somebody consumes something and then they make it an adoption of everyday use, you've got yourself a winner product, like Twitter, or if it's Google search, or if it's Facebook back in the day when you're trying to reconnect. And what we saw was how Bitcoin was taking off, but it wasn't just Bitcoin. It was, think about this. Here's a transactional process where no government can come in and monitor it. What government in today's world is going to allow trillions of dollars to change hands with no oversight? It doesn't work that way. So it was a test. COVID was a test. Will you follow lockdown orders? Bitcoin was a test. Will you exchange something of no value for something of greater value? An algorithm is what you were using, a piece of code. And we did it. And now we're conditioned to the point where it's so efficient, we don't want to give it up. We'd rather give up a little freedom than a little convenience.
I always find myself hesitant, and I get really scared when I see people start to give up freedom for security or give up freedom for convenience. And for the vast majority of people who think linearly, what is easiest in my daily life, they'll take that convenience and they'll take that fear and they'll take that safety over the freedom to be able to do what they want with their own money. I'm old enough to remember conservatives all across the country wringing our hands and losing our crap when we heard that Wells Fargo and Chase and JP Morgan, a whole bunch of different banks were going to, because they disagree with gun laws, they were going to stop your ability to make gun purchases or ammo purchases and stuff like that. And it seems like now conservatives have jumped on the bandwagon of championing the very thing that we were against, 10 years ago at this point. I'm very skeptical of anybody telling me that I'm going to be happy not owning anything, not being able to succeed on my own merits, or that somebody else can make better decisions with my money than I can make myself.
Well, you're right. I'll give you how short-term memories are really quick to kick in. When they say when Moses led the Hebrews out of Egypt, they were within 3 weeks after seeing all the power of God and the 7 different things of which to get them their freedom, they were worshiping a golden calf within 3 weeks, literally begging to go back to Egypt because they could be fed, they could be housed. And so our short-term memories are very much in focus today. We are I don't want to say a unique time, but it is definitely a time where we've never had this kind of the way people think. It's quick, it's microwave, it's drive-through. The things of which we used to be patient on, we no longer have that. When we were building our software company, we realized that in order for a video to be seen longer than 7 seconds, it had to be captivating within 3 seconds. So you have 3 seconds to capture the attention, and this is pretty much holds true today. Clippets is really kind of the short form content is still really the most valuable content out there. Something in that 30 second, 45, maybe 1 minute section is that's really all people want to watch. And so when you start to think about that, the payment system has to be instant. It has to be fast. I point an example. I went today to the Apple store. I had a 6-year-old MacBook Pro that went out. The video card went out. So I went and bought a new Air. From the time I walked in, I timed it to the time I was out was 7 minutes. I don't know if anyone's been to the Apple store before. 7 minutes. I guarantee Guinness is going to call me before the end of today, and I'm going to have won a record to get in and out. And she said that's the normal process now. It was so fast. They literally just scanned my phone, identified who I was, identified I had an Apple credit card, bing, bam, boom, I was out. Who's going to give up that for getting cash out of your wallet, paying for it, getting change, going to the bank if you have to go to ATM? See, convenience has a greater value than freedom in the younger generation now because they're programmed to go at light speed. Haven't you ever heard that? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Short version content has remapped the brain to where we don't have, it's not the smarts, it's not the intelligence. We don't have the adaptation our parents had or generations before us to be patient, to, like the Bible says, wait upon the Lord, right? So you start to think in that way, and patience becomes more relevant. But when you think about acclamation or likes, girls today, if they don't get some kind of affirmation from posting something within 6 to 8 minutes, they get depressed. And at 15 minutes or longer, if they're not getting the number of likes that they hope they would get, they go into spin mode. It's been proven, these teenage girls, like that 12 to 16-year-old, and that's what we programmed ourselves for. So they'll give up freedom any day of the week for convenience and affirmation.
Unfortunately, I know that you're right. I was in the process of writing a book called The Algorithmic Abyss, and how social media and instant gratification has rewired our brains, not to mention that the way algorithms work, feeding you constant cycles of negativity or constant cycles of whatever you happen to click on in order to keep you clicking, so they can keep monitoring and collecting data and selling your data so that they can sell you more products that you don't need and keep you buying stuff. I am so glad that we had you on the show. I want to have you back very, very soon, because I'd like to go deeper into this. I'd like to give you a full hour segment, because this is not something that the average person is going to be able to digest in short form. We're going to get in contact with you, but first, where can people go and support your work and spread the word?
Yeah. Okay, well, you can find me at on X at BMC Bravo Mary Charlie _ham, BMC _ham. And then our website, bmcham.com. We sell precious metals all the time. And just so you know, if we go to a longer depth, I'll send you some stuff that we can actually post inside the show. Statistically, we're in a decline, and the Genius Act was a method to try to slow the decline because of the debt and stuff like that. And we'll go into detail on it, and I'm happy to show it to you about the mathematics. That's what I studied, was physics. That was my background, and I studied that for years, and both quantum, and now we do quantitative financial derivative models for Congress.
Wow. All right. That is Christian Briggs, is CEO of Hard Asset Management Incorporated. He is a professional economist and statistician. Please go support his work. Follow him on X. I'm following him. If I'm following him, you should be following him, okay? Up after the break, we're going to be getting into another great conversation with Glenn Baker. He is a returning guest to the show, Army veteran, entrepreneur, musician, documentary filmmaker. We're going to get on, discuss his mission to confront systemic injustices and seek real solutions to today's pressing concerns. See you after this break.
New Hampshire Republican Governor Kelly Ayotte has been making a lot of noise about how she's funding education. The Republican budget she just signed provides more money for education than ever before. She even bragged the other day that New Hampshire is top 10 in the country when it comes to funding our children's education, as if giving money to school systems has anything to do with learning. If you look at the math, and if you got schooled in New Hampshire, the odds are good it's not your best subject. It's the exact opposite. The more money we throw at schools, the less kids learn. We're committed to wasting money on an experiment that failed, unless wasting money to drive parents to homeschool their kids was the goal. We prefer to pick on Democrats, lower hanging fruit and all that, but our rhetorical woodshed doesn't discriminate. If that sounds refreshing, you need to check us out. This is Steve McDonald for Granite Rock, and we'll keep shining the light on them for you.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, Okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
We're right back in the final segment of Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. We're keeping the energy going. Right? So my next guest is Glenn Baker, an Army veteran, entrepreneur, musician, documentary filmmaker, and he's on a powerful mission to confront systemic injustices and seek real solutions to today's pressing issues nationally. He is also... His documentary is out. You're going to want to take a look at this. It's Finish This Fight, the diary of a pissed off American soldier. We love our veterans and we love supporting their work. Make sure you go and you watch that documentary. How are you doing today, sir?
Brother, man, I'm doing good, but I'm a little jealous. I just saw the backlit shot of your podcast studio, and I'm like, brother, I need that, man. I need that here.
Well, this is all courtesy of Ram TV Live and our famous benefactor, Tom Murray. He built this studio a while back when we were dealing with a lot of election integrity issues in New Hampshire, in order to be able to get the word out and to support a lot of the work of people like our producer and owner of Ram TV Live, Juan God, and a lot of the content creators like myself. So none of this is me. I just happen to be here and have the good fortune of knowing these amazing individuals and getting a chance to,
Well, my friend, it may not be you, but you're making it look good, and I'm a little jealous.
Hey, I will take it, But how are you doing today, sir?
Fantastic, my friend. Ready to chat with you.
All right. So what do we got going on this week?
Man, my week has been crazy. I've been all over the Midwest this week, or this last 2 weeks. Was in Chicago doing an event with Stuart Rhodes a couple of weeks ago, and we had our little run-ins with Antifa. That was a lot of fun. And then last week, I was in the north part of Georgia in the Blue Ridge Mountains, filming a pilot for a company that's starting a show. It went from chaos to peaceful. It was amazing. I've been on this emotional roller coaster.
Damn. I don't know. So I'm watching these Antifa fools pop up, and I find myself struggling, being scared of dudes in skinny jeans with purple hair and can't grow real facial hair. Like I find myself, I'm wondering how the hell we're allowing these people to run the gambit of law enforcement and stuff. And I'm glad to see the Trump administration and law enforcement finally starting to crack down on some of these losers.
It makes my little heart happy. And when you hang out with them or you're around them, they don't really like it when you laugh at them. They get these little temper tantrums, but they don't do anything about it. At least not to somebody with real facial hair. This is not a wig. I was actually able to grow that, even with Cherokee blood in me. But we had a good time. We ended up having to go to 4. Let me tell you how bad it is in Chicago. And I haven't been in Chicago in years. We ended up having 3 venues cancel in 2 days because Antifa was calling and threatening and whatever. The last one, the third one, we made a deal the day of the event, shook hands. It was a Latino man that owned the organization or owned the event center. And we told him, man, there are going to be people calling you. He said, my friend, I just won't answer the phone. Well, that was all well and good till they showed up at his door and started beating on his door and threatening him. So we ended up in a small church with a patriot pastor that said, come on, boys, let's do this thing. Went from about 400 people down to 100, but we had a great time. Got the message out there, and there are some patriots that are standing up in Chicago. So I applaud them, man. I think they got their work cut out for them, but they're doing some good work up there.
What I find disturbing is, during the election cycle, there's a lot of people that I've talked to in Chicago who were on board with Trump getting the illegals out of their communities and stuff. And you see in the news, I was just on a show with Sonny Johnson this weekend. We were talking about how the Democrats normally would have been able to make this an issue of race. They normally would have been able to be like, oh my God, you're locking up black people. You're locking up black people. But then you see down on the ground, you see normal, average, everyday black people going, no, I'm glad you're in these communities rounding up these people. First off, having black skin does not make you a black American. There are lots of people all over the world who happen to have black skin who have nothing to do with me, my family, or this country. And they're in this country illegally and they need to get the hell out. And I don't give a damn that they have black skin. It doesn't change the fact that you're here illegally. I don't care if you're Haitian, Somalian, nor if you're from South Africa. I don't care if you're from Uganda, Ethiopia, or any other country in Africa. If you're here legally, I don't care what your background is, white, brown, black, yellow, purple people eater, or indifferent. Get the hell out. And the people of Chicago are sick of this. And the funny thing is, the reason Democrats aren't able to make this successfully a racial issue is because the average black American on the ground knows the reason why ICE has to come into our communities is because you losers put these rejects in our communities. And you put these rejects in our communities knowing damn well that ICE was going to have to come get them out so that you could use us as a cudgel to keep them while you give them all the benefits and services we paid into for decades, and we have to wait at the back of the line while you give them carte blanche.
Yeah, brother, you're right on the nail, man. And the black folks in all over the country, but the ones that I met in Chicago, they're changing their minds, man, and they're becoming warriors. I met two guys, and I don't have the names in front of me, so I'm going to have to just kind of go off the cuff. One is he was incarcerated for a very long time, gangbanger that's a business owner now. He has I don't know 4 or 5 legalized marijuana shops there in the city of Chicago. Got several other things, and he's actually put a militia together in the hood up there. And they go out and confront these gangbangers all the time and stand them down. So I met him, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but you can search for him, I'm sure, if your folks want to know where he is. The second is a gentleman that was also incarcerated about 25, 30 years ago, got out, has taken the state of Illinois to court 7 times and won. He's not an attorney, but guess what he's doing? He's running for attorney general of the state of Illinois this next cycle, and he's running as the hood candidate. And he is shaking it up, brother.
I'm absolutely loving that. So I am always a fan of people who made mistakes and managed to make right after the fact. I love a redemption story. I also love stories about people becoming stewards of the communities.
There is no one watching this show today that hasn't made a mistake of some kind. And we talked about my story the last time I was here. I was incarcerated for 73 days for something that I didn't do, had no idea had taken place. But I guarantee, now I say that, and it's not because I'm standing on this stool of righteousness. I guarantee you we've all done something somewhere that could be taken as a crime that we could have been prosecuted on. What's the old saying? Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. And that's the truth. They can go after anybody here in this country right now, and there's not a dadgum thing we can do about it. And that's where judicial system needs to come into some great big reform. There's got to be some things take place here that puts this back on the straight and narrow. It's a money laundering system for the attorneys and judicial system. It's crazy. It's all about money.
And this is where I often say, conservatives, Republicans, you need to step away from the talking point about law and order and understand that we're talking about judicial reform, police reform, when we're talking about fixing a lot of these issues, we're talking about limited government. We're talking about transparency, accountability, efficiency, and efficacy. And we have the tools to do it if you understand the conservative principles of governance. If you don't understand those tools, you're going to end up growing the size of government. You're going to end up creating the problem, and you're going to create a bigger problem than already exists, and you're going to end up actually giving the Democrats, the progressives, the regressives, the Marxists, whatever you want to call them, you're going to give the blue coat mafia, the Blue Klux Klan, everything that they need to weaponize that very same system against you. And time after time, when we've had the opportunity to ally with people and bring them real transparency, accountability, efficiency, and efficacy, we end up siding with the state. We end up siding with the organizations. We end up siding with the police unions. We end up siding with the bar association and all the different private organizations that are backing the very same issue that we've seen weaponized against conservatives all across the country.
Well, that's mind control. It's what we're used to. It's a very difficult thing to change your mind when we've been programmed. In my instance, I just turned 58. So let's say for 58 years, everything that you see is what they've designed for you to see. Yep. Everything that you hear is what they've designed for you to hear. You have to go outside the norm to find out the truth. And even then, my friend, it's difficult to know what truth is. And so that's why with everything I've done in the last several years, I try to go directly to sources, not hearsay, not YouTube, not Wikipedia, none of that junk. Try to go directly to the people that were involved. And at least you can get a fairly good semblance of the truth and be somewhat confident that you've reached it. And it's difficult to do, my friend. But that's where you're at, and what you're talking about is where we've got to make up our dadgum minds that this ain't working, and we can't fall back onto what we've been taught.
And that is exactly why we have this show. Our job is to take the preconceived notions and misconceptions that have been peddled by mainstream media and alternative media and distill them down into fact, non-fact. Take the stuff, because both sides are referencing a set of facts in a data set, and we're manipulating the data set to fit the talking points and our own personal points of view, because the vast majority of people in society don't have consistent views and that are consistent with their idea of what the government should be involved in. So there's what the government should be involved in, and I mean via the Constitution, which is a law, the underarching law of the entire country, and then there's how I feel about it. Then there's my Christian values. Then there's my family. Then there's how society should operate. And that stuff over here needs to be culturally fought for, and this stuff over here needs to be restricted down to just what the government is supposed to be involved in, because everything that is involved in that it's not supposed to be involved in, it sucks at.
My personal opinion is the most powerful thing you just said right there is people going off of how it makes them feel.
Yes.
Feelings, my friend, feelings. And I just caught the last several minutes of your last guest, but he hit on that. You know, it's being programmed and I mean drilled into young people that if it feels good, do it. If it doesn't, throw a fit. And,
we've been on a tirade over the last 6 weeks about how unfettered validation and affirmation have ruined society. The idea that your feelings, this YOLO lifestyle that we have, is the pinnacle, that self-actualization and making yourself happy as a state of being is the pinnacle of what human beings should be trying to do. No, you have a duty to yourself to be the best human being physically possible, which means the primary thing that you should be doing is looking in the mirror and engaging in introspection. Introspection is pain. I understand why people run away from it. The more I look into the mirror and try to fix myself and fix all my shortcomings, the more pain I have to go through, because that means a lot of time in the gym. That means a lot of time reading. That means a lot of time getting rid of the things that have sapped love and sapped energy out of my life. That means getting rid of people who are bad for you. That means getting around people who are good for you. It's not a comfortable feeling. But at the same time, as a society, we need to step back from this unfettered validation affirmation. We need to step back from the idea of self-actualization being the pinnacle of the human condition, and step back away from this idea that happiness as a state of being. I'm happy when I'm eating ice cream. I'm happy when I'm riding a jet ski. I'm happy when I'm having sex. Let's be honest, people. Happiness can't be a state of being, and I want you to just go through a simple exercise. Pick something that makes you happy, and then think about how hard it would be to keep that up consistently over a lifetime. If you were to eat ice cream every single day, 1, you'll run out of flavors to eat before the end of the month. 2, you're going to end up having diabetes. You're going to end up having a heart attack. You're going to get fat and disgusting. You're going to end up killing yourself on your path to just prolong the happiness. You're going to end up doing things that in the moment make you happy, but long-term destroy your ability to be happy. That involves scrolling on your phone, playing video games. That too includes sex. If you prioritize your happiness, you'll destroy all your relationships in order to have momentary sexual gratification. That you're seeing that with young men in porn right now. So we need to step away from this. We need to get back to the idea of having a duty to yourself, a duty to your family, a duty to your community, and a duty to your country.
Can I throw one other word in there on top of that?
Faith? Duty to God?
Faith is good, but fulfillment.
Fulfillment,
I'll tell you a quick story, because I know we're running out of time. I was a wrestler. I had a chance to go to college on a full scholarship of wrestling. But in the 7th grade, my first year, I didn't win a single match. Not one. Not even close. By the time I'm a senior in high school, I only lost 2. And one of those is because I had a separated shoulder, and my shoulder was laying on my chest. Now, that was not because it was easy. That was 5 days a week, 6 years, off season, on season, 4-hour practices during season, cutting weight from 140 down to 123. It took a lot of sacrifice and a lot of work, but it was fulfilling. And now I'm 58 years old. This is 40 years ago. I can look back and still be proud of what I did, because I worked my butt off, man, to become fulfilled. There's something to be said about fulfillment, but happiness and feeling happy, buddy, that'll send you to hell.
Fulfillment is a state of being, is content. When I'm sitting down with my family, watching my kids play, watching the sunset, I'm content in that moment. Yeah, I know that there are bills that have to be paid. I know that I got a 12-hour shift tomorrow. I know that there are things that I still have to do. I know there are things I have to grind on. I know that there's a chance I may go to bed that night and stare at the ceiling thinking about all the things that I have to do. And I know that there's that aching feeling inside of every man that we are still just not enough. But content is a state of being. Happiness is a fleeting emotion. Emotions are fleeting. They're here today, gone tomorrow.
You're working hard, my friend.
What you said rings true. And it rings true because there is nothing in life that is worth having that you don't have to sacrifice to get. Anything that you get by taking the easy road is going to leave just as fast as it shows up.
Listen, I guarantee what you're doing is not easy. You've grinded. You've put in the time. You've probably put in a lot of money if you're anything like me. And here's where I'm at, man. Again, 58. How did I get so old? Look at this little gray right here. How did that happen?
I got it too. I got the gray everywhere. That's why I keep shaving my head so I don't have to deal with the salt and pepper. I shave my head so I don't got to deal with the salt and pepper because, it was a big ego hit when people stopped carding me, man.
Man, I know it. At the end of the day, I keep pushing, not because of wealth, not because of fame. I haven't made any money in this patriot world yet. Will I? Maybe. It's not the important thing, though. Making a living, I think, probably is pretty important. But here's where I'm at, man. I'm going to keep grinding and pushing and working and fighting until the end of my day comes. And I can look in the mirror and say, okay, Glenn, I'm pretty proud of myself. I did some good. I made a difference in some people's lives. Maybe I've made a difference in our country. And maybe I've left a legacy for my children to look and say, you know what? Our dad was a fighter. He never gave up. And
that's what it's all about.
Where that contentment, your word, that's where that contentment comes in, man. I did something and I'm going to continue to do something with my life. And for your viewers right now, if you're not happy with where you are and what you're doing, We have a choice every dadgum day. I was laying in bed this morning, honestly, a little depressed. And when I got up and started moving and started working, it's like, okay, what the heck's wrong with you, Glenn Baker? This is just a temporary feeling. Oh, it's a feeling. I don't have to live with it.
Exactly. I am so happy that you came back on the show. Again, this Glenn Baker, Army veteran, documentarian. Go check out his documentary, Finish This Fight, The Diary of a Pissed Off American Soldier. Go see it as soon as possible. I promise you, you are not going to regret it. And remember, happiness, emotions are fleeting. They're here today, they're gone tomorrow. Focus on sacrificing today so you can have that fulfilled, content life later on. The last thing you want to do is go down the road, the spiral of happiness today, and watch your life crumble tomorrow. That's going to be it for this week's episode of Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank you for supporting all of our guests. I want to thank you for buying my book, because you're going to go out and buy United We Stand, A Marines Fight. It's worth it, especially if you are sick of the tumultuous political dialogue that led to things like the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the attempted assassination on Donald Trump. We'll see you next week. God bless everyone.
United We Stand, A Marine's Fight, written by Marine Corps veteran Julian Eschyard. This book examines the deepening fractures in our nation, political division, government overreach, and a fading sense of shared responsibility, and offers a battle-tested path forward. A Marine's Fight is a bold and urgent call to action for every American who believes in the founding ideals of our republic. United We Stand, A Marine's Fight can be purchased on Amazon.